What up, everybody? It's Aaron with Robert, and this is Get Your Geek On, and this is our review of What If Episode 3.
What If Earth's Mightiest Heroes Fell? I think was the title of it.
Oh, you know the titles.
Spoiler alert, this is What If Hank Pym Snapped. Like, that's literally what it is.
Really it is. Spoiler right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, this is for people that have watched the show.
Yeah, it is.
Right? So yeah, a different structure to this episode than the previous ones, because with the previous episodes, we got presented as here is the difference, and this is everything. The story that follows is why. Right. And in this one, it was more told as like a murder mystery. As like we saw some beats of things that we've seen before. In the MCU, they call it Fury's Big Week, which, of course, is the events of Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, and Thor, as well as the final scene of Captain America, the First Avenger, all take place like within a 1 week period.
That's like the busiest week for somebody ever.
So it's insane. And so, you know, it kind of starts with Tony Stark in the cafe where he's, you know, just had his big fight with Rhodey and all that stuff. And this is the moment in Iron Man 2 where Nick Fury confronts him and reveals that Natasha is, you know, Black Widow, is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And, you know, they give him a little, like, you know,
lithium something.
Yeah, lithium dioxide, I think is what they call it.
Yeah.
You know, which kind of just helps some of his symptoms go away. But ultimately, it's just giving him time to figure out, you know, the issue that's going on. But instead of that happening, he dies immediately after Natasha injects him. And then Natasha gets arrested, basically, by S.H.I.E.L.D., although they cut to it's like the next day that she's being taken away. It's kind of weird from a timeline perspective. But then we get, you know, the thing with Thor where he's turned into a human, he's coming after the hammer, and, you know, it's the same beat in that movie where it's like, I want to see what happens, you know, hold your fire, you know, and then Hawkeye accidentally shoots him with the arrow and kills him because he's human.
I would like to point out, everybody loved his hair. They just loved his hair.
They did, yeah. I think we're going to get into the specifics, but like,
that's how I say it now.
We just keep seeing these, you know, these same beats from the movies, including, you know, the
Hulk one was interesting.
Yeah, and then he explodes, and we don't know how that could happen. And so, like, boom, 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 Iron Man dies, Thor dies, Hawkeye actually dies in his cell after being accused of killing Thor, and then Hulk dies. And this whole time, Natasha's trying to figure out what's going on. She's kind of been tasked by Fury to do that. And just as she's figuring it out, she gets attacked by something we can't see and says it's all about Hope. And of course, the reveal is that it's about Hope Van Dyne,
who's died,
Hank Pym's daughter. So in this one, I thought it was really interesting. She obviously, the big choice is she chose to become an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
That's the what if.
Right.
And because of that, she's the one who ends up going on. Actually, I think she's the one that went on the mission that Black Widow tells Captain America about in Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Oh, where she gets the scar, right?
Right.
Okay.
Because she talks about how she, you know, was protecting someone from the Winter Soldier and she took the bullet. And so I think that's the same mission because they both reference Odessa, I believe.
Yeah.
And
so that could be it.
I'm pretty sure it's the same mission. But you know, she dies, and Hank Pym clearly blames S.H.I.E.L.D. for all of this. But Nick Fury's got the ace up his sleeve, or the god of mischief, and Loki kind of teams up to get revenge for the death of Thor, and then decides he's going to take over Earth. And now there's no Avengers to stop him.
Or is there?
Or is there? Because Nick Fury discovers Cap, and also calls in reinforcements in the form of Captain Marvel. So that's kind of the story. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting the way they told it, because it was very different than the previous episodes.
Yeah.
I didn't like it as much as the last one.
Okay.
I thought of the first three, I thought the T'Challa episode was the best one. But I thought this was interesting. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I was listening to somebody else too about this. Anything that we have to kind of stick to the original premise, it seems like they have a weaker tone to it. Like Captain Carter.
Yeah.
We still get all the same plots and stuff that we get from Captain America. But with T'Challa becoming Star-Lord, we could change everything, which they did, and that was a home run.
Right.
And in this one, there's still some trope to it. There's still a little bit of
feels
finding
like they're playing it safe a little bit.
Exactly. Like, we still, at the end, he still finds the shield. He still has an Avengers team. He's still going to assemble the Avengers. It's just not the Avengers we know.
Right.
And again, they really did play it safe, I think, because you really didn't know where it was going to go. I think I agree. I like it. Maybe more than Carter, but less than the T'Challa Star-Lord one. Yeah. Because I love murder mysteries.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting, and it took me a beat because I wasn't really thinking, like, as soon as she said it's about Hope, I immediately was like, oh, it's about Hope Van Dyne. Right, yeah. But even then, I still was like, man, she turned evil. Like I wasn't connecting the dots that it was Hank Pym. Until kind of he showed up.
And he's in the Yellow Jacket armor. He's not even in Ant-Man. He's a Yellow Jacket.
Well, I thought this was great because it kind of brings that movie full circle. Because in the first Ant-Man movie, these Yellow Jacket suits are being sold as like, these are amazing. You're going to be able to, and you kind of never really feel that threat in that movie. And when you watch this, you're like, oh,
dang,
he just took out Hulk. Like, okay, like that. Yeah, this suit is that incredible. Yeah. And if you are an evil person with this tech, like you start to understand Hank's perspective in that movie. In the Ant-Man movie, he's like, I won't even give this to S.H.I.E.L.D. because it's too dangerous a technology. And
he showed how dangerous it can be. And he's an old man still.
Yeah, and now he shows exactly how dangerous it really is.
Yeah. I mean, I do like we get... I think it's Samuel L. Jackson still, right?
Yep. I mean, most of
Mark
this...
Ruffalo's still there.
Yeah, which is interesting because obviously in that movie's timeline, it's Ed Norton.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Yeah, I think the big ones that didn't return was Lake Bell instead of Scarlett Johansson. Mm-hmm. And Lake Bell has done a lot of voiceover work. She's actually the voice of Poison Ivy in the Harley Quinn series. If you've watched that,
I knew I recognized that voice. Mm-hmm. I couldn't. Put
so she's done a lot of voiceover work.
Was Ross different?
General Ross and Betty Ross are both different.
I figured Betty was.
It was not our main people. Captain Marvel, who comes in right at the end, that was not Brie Larson. It's someone else.
I think that was her.
And I think
Coulson is still hit.
Yeah, it was Coulson came back. I mean, even like Frank Grillo, who was Crossbones, was there very briefly.
Jeremy Renner, was that him?
Jeremy Renner was in it. Samuel L. Jackson. You already mentioned Mark Ruffalo.
I mean, it was awesome to get them all back. Mostly.
It wasn't Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, but I think I really enjoyed the mirrors and having, especially I thought the Iron Man and Thor ones were really good.
Oh,
the Iron Man one, just because that was the first one, it was like very shocking to have
it happen. Yeah, because it's like, they're just gonna he's dead.
And then the Thor one was very funny because it was like you mentioned it, like Coulson being like, it's Caucasian male, mid-20s with really great hair, and then you get Samuel L. Jackson being like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's an accurate description, sir.
Yeah, and then you get Hawkeye, being like, Coulson was right about that hair.
It was just so funny they picked on it.
And they kept like making the jokes like as he's dead, he's like, wow, he smells like lavender, like all this stuff, and you're like, all right, like this is a funny joke. And I even, Coulson had another great moment where Natasha was calling him, asking for his password, and it was like hashtag Steve, I heart Steve 0704, which is Independence Day and also Captain America's birthday, Steve Rogers' birthday. So it was like, I was like, all right, like we're letting Coulson be the fanboy again.
And I love that they let him be him. Like that didn't change. I did like though, and I don't remember noticing it in the first two, but we actually see the Watcher in the background of all the major scenes, it seems like.
Yeah, I think they've done that a few times in the other episodes, where, like you just kind of see the silhouette of the Watcher.
Yeah.
But it did seem a little bit more prominent.
This one it seemed like he's right here, like look at him. I did like, again, everything I thought was on point. My main one was kind of the Hulk, where I was kind of like, eh. But it is hard to kill the Hulk in general. It all depends on the writer. I mean, he's eaten Wolverine. Wolverine has a regeneration factor, and he ripped the Hulk out and killed him.
Right.
But it's like, but the Hulk can regenerate, but we're not going to talk about it because he was the inside. I guess he's not able to regenerate. Yeah. I don't know. It's all about the writer, which is fine.
I mean, I buy the way they did it. I didn't find that story as compelling as the other two murders.
No.
That one, when we got to that one, because I already knew, it was like, oh, clearly, like something's gonna happen here to Hulk. I didn't know exactly what it was gonna be, but after like the Tony one was totally shocking, because I didn't know that we were in for that type of story until it happened, and then even the Thor one. It was like, it was weird because it was like, wait, how did that happen? Like, how did
especially
Hawkeye
he's like, I don't misfire, I don't,
I
didn't do
and so that was like, okay, like, I was really invested at that point. And with the Hulk one, it was more just kind of like, I was weirded out first off by even, like, the voice acting for the Betty Ross character really did throw me. Like, I was like, ooh, she doesn't sound anything like Liv Tyler.
Yeah. I know it's more than Tyler.
And it just kind of threw me off. And then even when Mark Ruffalo pops out of the closet and there's like an awkward moment between him and Natasha, Black Widow, and I couldn't tell if it was like a wink, like, hey, we know it's not really supposed to be Mark Ruffalo, wink, wink, or if they were trying to like play up that there was like an attraction there because of what ends up happening. Yeah. And so it was like, there was just kind of an awkward beat. Really so I was really thrown out of that whole scene by those elements. And so I wasn't necessarily as invested. And I was also just kind of going like, okay, how are they going to kill Hulk? Like, it's going to happen, but how is it going to happen?
Yeah. And I agree with you. And I think at the same time, I got a little upset because we knew General Ross was watching that college the whole time. We know that. That's why the army's ready. He didn't tell me he didn't notice Natasha being in there in the first place to be like, why is Agent Romanoff in here? He knows who S.H.I.E.L.D. is, obviously. I don't know. It was the whole thing kind of threw me off just a little bit. And I think, but it's hard to fit Hulk in there because he was never part of the MCU.
It was also on a second watch, it really stands out, like, why doesn't Hank kill Natasha right there? Like, why does he let her go to her next place where she's able to then figure it out? Like, and do her research. Like, why wouldn't he just kill her there? If he's going to kill her anyways, which her death is kind of off screen. We don't actually see her die, but we know she does. Yeah. Because at the end of the movie,
see a casket.
At the end of the movie, they have graphic artist renderings for their caskets, like which is kind of like, okay, like obviously you're telling us that Iron Man, Hawkeye, Thor, Hulk, and Black Widow have all died.
Yeah.
But it was also like, like, why do you have these, like, I think they were like sheets covering the caskets. And it was like, okay, so it was a little bit of like, what is it, BVS, when, you've got the files on the computer that already have like the lightning bolt logo.
Yeah, so you know who's who.
And it's like, really? Are we really doing this? Especially the one that stands out the most is Thor.
Yeah, because, why?
Because it was like, it's the Hammer logo, which is like, these are logos the MCU has used before. Like, these are their standard logos. But it's also one of those things, it's like, you don't know anything about that guy, because you literally never talked to him.
No,
all you know is he was about to grab the hammer, and you have no idea what was going to happen with it.
Yeah,
so
and that's
it really stood out. I was like, you know what? That's kind of breaking the reality of this already weird reality.
It really did.
So there were some weird things.
I mean, all in all, though, I liked it. At the end of it, I did like, the Loki. Essentially, it's Loki fighting Hank Pym, because I was like, the first time we threw that punch and nailed him, I was like, that's not Samuel Jackson. That's Loki.
Well, and especially on the rewatch, all of the dialogue in that scene is really pointed, because you can tell immediately, like, as he's saying things, you're like, oh, that's not Nick Fury, 100%. Like, he just, like, even just the way he's responding to Hank, like, clearly he doesn't, like, Fury's given him a few things, like the names of the people that have been murdered. Yeah. But other than that, like, he's totally operating without any knowledge.
No. He's being Loki, though.
And it's just like, I like the slow realization that Michael Douglas is having, like, where he's like, wow, you're pretty spry for a guy with a corner office, like all that stuff, and he just keeps like not like getting beat, and then of course there's like
100 of them.
Loki does his like I'm gonna stand around you and laugh with all my illusions, which was a callback to Thor.
Yes.
When he does that on the Rainbow Bridge. Near the end of the
even
movie.
in Avengers when he has all the people surrounded, he pulls a bunch of them up too.
Yeah, but I mean, this was more like this was a direct callback of like he's on the ground and there's a bunch of them laughing around him, which is exactly what happened in the Rainbow Bridge. And then Thor does the reveals which one it is, and then he puts it on his chest, which is
just leaves him there. Yeah.
Bye. But yeah, I did like the immediate like from Loki, like okay, now I'm just gonna take over the Earth.
Yeah, so like I'm gonna stay a while,
which was great, and also like I think at this point, like I don't know, is Odin in the Odin sleep or not? Like
we don't get that either.
The timeline, I'm not sure. Like I think he is because Loki's using the casket, which means he already knows he's a frost giant, which means he's already confronted Odin, which is when Odin kind of falls into the Odin sleep, because it does feel like Odin would not let him just take over the Earth.
No, well,
but if he's in the Odin sleep, then I guess it works.
Yeah, well, Sith even says like Odin would want us to talk. Right. It's like that's the only line we get.
Yeah,
and it's still like Loki's like, I'm listening, but I'm still gonna do something.
Well, and by the end of the episode, like we don't see Sif and the Warriors 3 with him on Earth, but there's Avengers warships and all, or not Avengers, Asgardian warships and everything. So he has clearly taken over Earth, which again. Why would he leave Nick Fury alive?
Exactly.
Like that's another piece where it's like, okay, like obviously you need Nick Fury alive to be able to call Captain Marvel and find like, but it is another one thing. It's like Loki would just kill him.
Yeah, he really should have. I mean, again, you're leaving probably the most dangerous human alive. And so it's like, oh yeah, it's fine, whatever.
I do love that we get his speech again, though, of like humans crave subjugation.
I was so happy to hear it.
Stuff.
I was like,
and it was Tom Hiddleston back too. And you could clearly tell with that voice.
I loved it.
Even Jamie Alexander as Sif was back.
Yeah,
for her one line,
one whole line. I loved it. I think it was like I said, I think better than Carter, but still, T'Challa Star-Lord for me is still better.
Yeah, this was about on par with the Carter episode for me. I think like it was good. It was interesting. Yeah, but it was one of those things where I felt like the twists worked, but I'm with you. I want the wacky, crazy, like this one moment changed everything.
Yeah.
And whereas in this one, it was like we still got all of the other events that we would have gotten because Hope becoming a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent had to have been 10, 15 years in the past. Whatever, and then of course she died like 2 years before this. But all the other events of Iron Man 2 and Thor and Hulk and all of those events still were kind of unfolding the exact same way. So there didn't seem to be quite as large a ripple effect.
Exactly.
And so, it was cool. It was cool to see Loki actually win and take over the Earth. And I did think the one other thing that really hit me weird was the ending for Michael Douglas when Hank Pym gets defeated. And Nick Fury kind of gives his speech about what it means to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, and that Hope understood that. And he's like, then you honor her. Honor her! Yeah, like, and I was like...
What are we honoring?
Wait, like, what do you... I don't know what you mean. Like, already on her gravestone, it says, like, beloved daughter and S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Like, what do you want them to do in terms of honoring
I mean, he did kind of shoot the tombstone, I think. So maybe he means, like, build the tombstone again?
I don't
because
know.
He did shoot it. I'm like, he just shot his... I think he shot the tombstone.
Well, he didn't shoot the tombstone. Loki, like, slapped him into it, and it knocked over.
No, there's one part where he shoots. And he shoots at...
well, that was Hank. That's Hank's fault.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe he means, like, to rebuild the stone he destroyed?
It was a weird... that was just a weird moment where I was like, I don't understand what you're saying to honor her.
Yeah, that part I toned out. I was like, what? And I was trying to think, like, what are we honoring? Like, anyway.
Yeah.
But we enjoyed it, I think, overall.
It was fun. I'm very much looking forward to week 4, just because the first 3 episodes were the ones that were screened for critics. So these are the ones that other people had seen before. Yeah. And, there had kind of been reports that, like, it's good. There's, like, I think the consensus, even among the critics, was the second episode was the best. And there's other episodes that, You know, like they're okay, they're good. You know, but I'm looking forward now to hopefully, you know, we've got I think 6 more episodes. I think they said it's gonna be 9. So I'm hoping we get some more like totally crazy, wacky episodes. I like that T'Challa one because like that reveal of Thanos in episode 2 is still like the highlight so far. Where I was like, this is amazing.
It is. I'm really waiting to see like the Guardian Avengers kind of mix that they did. Like one shot we saw. I'm waiting to see how we're gonna pull that off.
Killmonger showing up to save Tony Stark. Like there's stuff from the trailer that I'm super excited to see.
Exactly.
So yeah, I agree.
Also, let us know what you think down below. What episodes are your favorites so far from the What If series? And let us know if we missed anything in this episode. Maybe we missed an Easter egg here or something that you caught. Let us know. And don't forget, stay geeky, guys. I guess you're geek on.